Erica, welcome back to Maniacal Reader. Today I'm doing my December wrap-up. I read 12 books in December, so let's just jump right into it. The first book I read is The Lightning Thief by Riordan. This is the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and this is a middle grade fantasy series. I had the series on a few TBRs in 2017, and in December I finally made a point of picking up this series, since I put it off for so long. I actually liked it surprisingly, so I'm definitely on the Rick Riordan train now. Percy seems like a funny and interesting character. He's really relatable, and I liked the world building in this book. I found it interesting. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. It was definitely a good book to the series, but it wasn't one that I really liked or one that was amazing. So that's why I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I know that the rest of the series gets better, but this was a good first book. The next book I read was Sea of Monsters, the second book in this series, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I enjoyed it more than the first one. We get to meet a new character that I found was really sweet and funny in this book, and we get to know more of the characters in this second book. I really liked the plot of this book as well. Naturally, I read The Titan's Curse next. This is the third book in the series, and I ended up borrowing this book from the library. I did enjoy the characters in this book, but we spent more time with new characters, but because the plot was so action-packed, I felt that we didn't get a chance to really know these new characters, so that's why I only gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy this book, just not as much as the previous one. The next book I read was The Battle of the Labyrinth. This was the 4th book in the Percy Jackson series, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book was a step above all the previous ones. This 4th book is where the story really gets going, and Percy Jackson and his friends need to find a way to save Olympus before it's messed with. I really enjoyed the plot in this book. It was really action-packed, and I loved all the character moments and the edge-of-your-seat moments when it came to the action. This was a really good book, and it was definitely a potential favorite of mine in the series. Next, I read the last book in the series, The Last Olympian. This is the 5th and final book in the Percy Jackson series, and I believe I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book was all about the huge battle to save Olympus. I really liked how this series ended and how there was clues about another prophecy that leads to the spin-off series, Heroes of Olympus. So I'm looking forward to getting to this spin-off series at some point in the future, but this book was really an awesome finale, and I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely on the Rick Riordan train now, and I look forward to getting to this spin-off series as well as his other series in the future. I'm definitely glad I decided to pick up this series in December. It was definitely worth it. The next book I read after finishing that series was Beautiful Broken Girls by Kim Savage. This is a YA mystery standalone, but it does have a dark, serious, contemporary element as well. The book follows 2 girls named Mia and Jessica, and these girls are sisters. Mia and Jessica decided to commit suicide by drowning themselves in the quarry, but Mia leaves notes for Ben. The story is all about Ben discovering why these girls committed suicide and what must have happened in their lives that would lead them to make such a decision like this. I loved unraveling the notes as Ben found them, really learning more about their lives just as Ben did. The next book I read in December was Switched by Hocking, and this was actually a reread for me. This is the first book in a YA paranormal fantasy trilogy. Throughout November and December, I spent time watching the originals TV show, and watching The Vampire Diaries as well as the originals got me in the mood to read YA paranormal fantasy again. And even though I have read this trilogy before, I was reminded that there was a spin-off trilogy, and I wanted to read that spin-off trilogy, but I wanted to refresh my mind about what this world was about and all of the characters in this trilogy before I read the spin-off. This trilogy is about trolls and different troll kingdoms. This first book follows a girl named Wendy, and Wendy is a normal girl, but she discovers who she is, and she realizes that she's actually a princess to a troll kingdom. I believe I read this trilogy a few years ago. I remembered some of the details in this trilogy, but I forgot others, so I'm glad I reread this trilogy. Wendy is a really relatable character. I also liked the side characters in this trilogy and Wendy's romance with a guy named Finn. I really liked the tension in between them in this first book. It was good. I believe I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed the characters and the world was really interesting. Next I read Torn, which is the sequel to Switched. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I liked the addition of Loki in this book. Loki is a second love interest for Wendy, and I liked her relationship with him in this book. After reading this book, I definitely wanted Wendy and Loki to be together, so I really liked their relationship in this book. The next book I read was Ascend, the third and final book in the Trill trilogy. I really liked this book. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This book was really a great finale to the trilogy. There was a lot of action and a lot of things happening. And Wendy really develops into the person that she's meant to be, leading the Trill Kingdoms. I really liked how this trilogy wrapped up, and I liked who Wendy ended up with at the end of this trilogy. She ended up with who the person that she was meant to end up with, so I'm happy about that. Naturally, I read Frostfire next. This is the first book in the Canon Chronicles trilogy, and this is the spin-off of the Trill trilogy. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book follows a girl named Bryn, who's a tracker in her troll kingdom of Canon. Trackers are supposed to keep an eye on changelings, or royal troll people. The responsibility of trackers is to help changelings get accustomed to their troll society because they're royal people and they're supposed to rule in their troll kingdom. And they've never heard of their troll kingdom or any of the royal customs in their society, so it's the job of trackers to help them get up to speed once they come home to their true troll kingdom. And it's the same way in the Canon Troll Kingdom. But this trilogy follows a girl named Bryn, as she has feelings for her boss named Ridley. Trackers are supposed to take their job seriously and follow their duty to the kingdom, and Bryn is a lot like this. She's very serious and she takes her job seriously as a tracker, so she doesn't think it's proper to have feelings for Ridley, but she can't seem to avoid her feelings for Ridley, and there's a lot of romantic tension between Bryn and Ridley in this book. As far as I could tell, this trilogy is a step above the Trill trilogy, so I enjoyed this trilogy a lot more than the first one, even though I really liked the Trill trilogy. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good introduction to this spin-off trilogy, and I loved all of the romantic tension in this book. Next up, I read Ice Kissed. This is the sequel to Frostfire. We follow Bryn, but in this book, Bryn is struggling with a certain person in her past. She doesn't really think that this certain person committed the mistake that he did years ago, or that he meant to commit that mistake. So Bryn sympathizes with his person, but she's also angry towards this person. Bryn sort of has mixed feelings toward Constantine Black since he betrayed his kingdom, but Bryn doesn't really think he meant to, and that he was somehow controlled by somebody else in this society, so it seems like there's something that's corrupt in the government or corrupt in her society. So Bryn has to navigate that, and she really wants to find out what exactly happened in her past that she has a lot of grief from and a lot of bad feelings about. So Bryn discovers this event. She also learns exactly what corrupt things are going on in her society in this book. The next book I read was Crystal Kingdom. This is the third and final book in the Canon Chronicles trilogy. This book was a great finale. There was a lot of action and the plot was extremely well written. Bryn finally has some answers about the corrupt things that are happening in her society, and I liked the romantic tension between her and Ridley in this book. This book was also emotional in amongst the action because some people die unnecessarily, and those were emotional moments in this book. It was so well written and a great finale to the trilogy. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and like I said before, this trilogy was a step above the Trill trilogy, so I'll definitely be rereading this trilogy at some point. It was that good. The next book I read in December was one I actually read on my Kindle, and that was A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This is a new adult romance standalone, and I absolutely loved it. I actually wanted to read this book for a while, so I'm glad I picked it up in December. I was actually encouraged to do so because Jessica over at Peace Love Books really likes Candy Steiner as an author, and she was actually planning on rereading this book in December, so that's what encouraged me to finally pick it up. This book follows the romance of a guy named Jamie and a girl named Brix, but she prefers to be called B. The story begins when the characters are in high school, but this book is definitely new adult, for sure. The day that B met Jamie is one that she can't forget, but Jamie notices B's best friend instead, so Jamie dated B's best friend in high school, but from the day she met him, she's always had feelings for him. Timing has never been right for these characters, so they can never get together since the timing has never worked out. This book spans like 11 or 13 years in their relationship. In every moment of their lives, these characters can't seem to let each other go. B and Jamie end up going to the same college, but certain things happen to B in college that she can't be together with Jamie, and the same goes for them in adulthood. There was so much angst in this book. I loved it. And the fact that certain life situations got in the way of them trying to be together. I wanted to throw this book across the room, but I also felt deeply sad for both of these characters as well. If you like a book that's really angsty and has a slow burn romance, you'll love this book. This book is not for everyone, since some people really don't like this type of relationship. I loved this book though, and the author kept me guessing until the very end if these characters would get together or not. This book was definitely an emotional roller coaster for me, and I loved it. I'll definitely read more by Candy Steiner in the future. And the final book I read in December was What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang. This is the first book in a YA dystopian trilogy. The concept of this book is that two girls named Addie and Eva are two souls that were born into one body. And the concept of this trilogy really plays with that idea. Addie is the dominant soul. She can control the body, and Eva is the recessive soul. In this society, once people reach a certain age in childhood, one soul dominates while the recessive soul disappears, and Eva is the recessive soul. The story is told from her point of view. Eva didn't really disappear when she was supposed to at a certain age. Eva and Addie are still together in one body, and they're what's known as a hybrid. And in this society, hybrids aren't acceptable. And it's treated as if there's something wrong with you if the two souls don't settle. I liked this first book and the dynamic between Addie and Eva. Eva has always wanted to live her life and have different experiences, but she's never been able to since she's not really accepted into society. Her family doesn't really know that she still exists. So she's wanted to have certain experiences in life, but she's never been able to. So when Addie is suspected of being a hybrid, Addie and Eva are taken to this facility that tries to get rid of the recessive soul and just leave the dominant soul. So the majority of the story takes place in this facility as Addie and Eva meet new people at this facility and just trying to find out what exactly happens there. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy the characters and the plot, but to me it just seemed like the average dystopian. Even though I did enjoy it, it just seemed average. It wasn't anything that I really liked or that was really amazing. Those are all of the books that I read in December. I would say I had a really good reading month. I enjoyed everything that I read. My end of the year videos are coming up really soon, so you'll see more of those. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in my next video.